It's been 41 years since Back to the Future took us on the ultimate ride through time. A DeLorean instead of a spaceship, a clock tower instead of a warp drive. The cast, their journeys since leaving Hill Valley have been just as incredible as the film itself. Let's see where they are in 2026. Michael J. Fox as Marty McFly. Michael was 23 years old when the film premiered in 1985. He wasn't even the original Marty. Eric Stoltz filmed for 5 weeks before being replaced because his serious approach didn't match the comedic energy needed. Michael was filming Family Ties by day and Back to the Future by night, sleeping in a van between sets. What made Marty unforgettable was Michael's everyman charm. He wasn't a hero, he was just a kid with bad luck. Now 64 years old in 2026, Michael was diagnosed with young onset Parkinson's in 1991 at just 29. He kept it private for 7 years. He founded the Michael J. Fox Foundation in 2000, retired from acting in 2020, and received the Presidential Medal of Freedom in 2025. Michael has been married to actress Tracy Pollan since 1988, and they have 4 children. Christopher Lloyd as Dr. Emmett Brown. Christopher was 46 years old when Back to the Future premiered in 1985, creating one of cinema's most iconic scientists. Doc Brown's wild hair, bulging eyes, and rapid-fire 1.21 gigawatts became instantly quotable. Before the film, Christopher had won 2 Emmy Awards as Reverend Jim on Taxi and played a psychiatric patient in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. That unpredictability made him perfect for Doc Brown. Now 87 years old in 2026, Christopher has never stopped working. He became Uncle Fester in The Addams Family, Judge Doom in Who Framed Roger Rabbit, and has appeared in The Mandalorian and the Knuckles series well into his 80s. Unlike many actors stuck with one iconic role, Christopher has always embraced Doc Brown. He's been married 3 times and has been with Lisa Loyacano since 2016. He remains a beloved fixture at fan conventions worldwide. Leah Thompson as Lorraine Baines McFly. Leah was 23 years old when the film premiered in 1985, playing the same character at 2 completely different ages. What made her performance extraordinary was showing how time changes a person from the inside out. Before acting, Leah was a serious ballet dancer until Mikhail Baryshnikov told her she was talented but too stocky. She left ballet entirely. Now 64 years old in 2026, Leah has built an impressive career beyond Hill Valley. She starred in Caroline in the City, found a 2nd chapter on Switched at Birth, and has directed episodes of Star Trek Picard. Her daughter, Zoe Deutsch, became a successful actress. Leah was married to director Howard Deutsch from 1989 to 2024, and they have 2 daughters. She remains incredibly active at fan conventions and is proof that transformation isn't something that only happens in a DeLorean. Crispin Glover as George McFly. Crispin was 20 years old when the film premiered in 1985, playing the awkward father whose transformation from coward to hero became one of the film's most satisfying moments. His physical commitment went beyond what the script demanded, creating a character that was completely original. But here's where things get controversial. Crispin didn't return for part 2. The producers replicated his face using prosthetics on another actor without his permission.
I didn't like the way that guy played it, and people think that's
I
me.
didn't either.
I do not like the performance that person did. To me, that was a bad performance, bad acting.
Crispin sued and won. The case led to new Screen Actors Guild rules protecting performers' likenesses, changing how the entire industry operates. Now 61 years old in 2026, Crispin moved away from mainstream filmmaking after the lawsuit. He directed experimental films, purchased a castle in the Czech Republic, and toured with multimedia performances. He's never been married and keeps his personal life extremely private. His independence has only added to his mystique among fans. Thomas F. Wilson as Biff Tannen. Thomas was 26 years old when the film premiered in 1985, creating one of cinema's most recognizable bullies. What made Biff unforgettable was that Thomas made his thickness feel human rather than cartoonish. But here's the interesting part. Thomas wasn't even the original choice. J.J. Cohen was selected first, but appeared too small beside Eric Stoltz. Thomas stepped in. When Fox replaced Stoltz, the height difference reversed, but Thomas had already made Biff his own. Now 66 years old in 2026, Thomas has handled the typecasting with remarkable humor. He wrote a hilarious song called Biff's Question Song for his stand-up sets. He became a painter, podcaster, YouTube creator, and voice actor on SpongeBob SquarePants. Thomas has been married since 1985, and they have 4 children. He regularly appears at conventions where audiences still flinch a little when they see him. Claudia Wells as Jennifer Parker. Claudia was 18 years old when the film premiered in 1985, playing Marty's girlfriend. Before acting, she trained as an opera singer with the San Francisco Opera. Born in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, and raised in San Francisco, Claudia almost didn't appear in the film. A television pilot forced her out after casting, but when it was canceled, she returned just in time. But here's where things get emotional. When the sequels were being prepared, Claudia's mother was diagnosed with breast cancer. Claudia stepped away from Hollywood entirely to care for her. The role was recast with Elizabeth Shue. Her mother passed away in 1994. Now 59 years old in 2026, Claudia opened a men's clothing store in Studio City, which she still operates. She returned to the franchise in 2011 for the video game. She's never been married. She remains beloved at conventions, a reminder that some departures have everything to do with love. Wendy Jo Sperber as Linda McFly. Wendy Jo was 26 years old when the film premiered in 1985, playing Marty's exasperated sister. Back to the Future was her fourth collaboration with director Zemeckis. She also starred alongside Tom Hanks in Bosom Buddies, and Hanks became a lifelong friend. But here's where things get heartbreaking. In 1997, Wendy Jo was diagnosed with breast cancer. It went into remission, then returned devastatingly in 2002. Rather than retreating, she founded the We Spark Cancer Support Center in Sherman Oaks, providing free support to cancer patients and families. She continued working through her illness. Wendy Jo was married and had 2 children. She passed away on November 29, 2005, at just 47 years old. Tom Hanks delivered a moving tribute, calling her a walking inspiration. Her screen time was limited, but her legacy through We Spark continues helping families to this day. Mark McClure as Dave McFly. Mark was 28 years old when the film premiered in 1985, playing Marty's older brother in the fast food uniform. Before Back to the Future, Mark was already known as Jimmy Olsen across all 4 Christopher Reeve Superman films and the Supergirl spinoff, the only actor to appear in all 5 entries. Now 68 years old in 2026, Mark continued working across television and film, including a cameo in Justice League in 2017. He keeps his personal life private. He's one of those actors whose face is woven into multiple franchises without ever being the name on the poster. James Tolkan as Mr. Strickland. James was 54 years old when the film premiered in 1985, playing the bald-headed vice principal who terrified students with one word: slacker. Before acting, James served in the Navy and trained under Lee Strasberg and Stella Adler at the Actors Studio. That one word followed him for 40 years, along with his iconic Top Gun line about Tom Cruise's ego writing checks his body couldn't cash. Between those 2 films, James cemented a permanent place in 1980s cinema.
James Tolkan from Back to the Future, Top Gun, and other movies like that.
Thank you, Ben.
Now 94 years old in 2026, James lives in Lake Placid, New York, and still makes occasional convention appearances, living proof that discipline endures.
Now that's a good idea. I could run for mayor.
Donald Fullylove as Goldie Wilson. Donald was 27 years old when the film premiered in 1985, playing the young man wiping tables at Lou's Cafe who declared he'd be mayor someday. What made Goldie unforgettable was the dignity Donald brought to the role. Before Back to the Future, Donald began as a child voice actor at 13, voicing Michael Jackson in the animated Jackson 5 series. Now 67 years old in 2026, Donald built an extensive voice acting career with Pixar, lending his voice to Up, WALL-E, and Monsters, Inc. He keeps his personal life private. His voice has traveled further than Goldie Wilson's campaign ever did. George DeCenzo as Sam Baines. George was 45 years old when the film premiered in 1985, playing Lorraine's father at the 1955 dinner table. Before Back to the Future, he was best known for portraying prosecutor Vincent Bugliosi in the 1976 television film Helter Skelter. He also voiced Hordak in She-Ra, Princess of Power. George continued working across television with guest appearances on Law & Order and NYPD Blue. He later became a respected acting instructor. George passed away on August 9, 2010, at 70 years old from sepsis. His presence was brief, but the Baines household wouldn't have felt real without him. Frances Lee McCain as Stella Baines. Frances was 40 years old when the film premiered in 1985, playing Lorraine's mother. Before Back to the Future, she had already appeared in Gremlins and Footloose. In a film about rupturing the timeline, someone had to make the domestic scenes feel stable, and that was Frances. Now 81 years old in 2026, she has continued working across television and smaller film roles. She's kept her personal life private. Frances built the foundation of 1980s cinema without ever standing in the foreground. Billy Zane as Match. Billy was 19 years old when the film premiered in 1985, and it was literally his very first film appearance. He arrived in Hollywood straight out of high school and landed the role within 3 weeks. Within a few years, Billy broke through with Dead Calm, appeared in Twin Peaks, and eventually played the villain in Titanic, one of the highest-grossing films in history. Now 59 years old in 2026, Billy remains active in the industry. He was previously married to Lisa Collins and later to Kelly Brook. He's proof that sometimes the biggest careers start in someone else's shadow. Jason Hervey as Milton Baines. Jason was just 12 years old when the film premiered in 1985, playing one of Lorraine's younger siblings. What really made Jason famous came 3 years later, when he was cast as Wayne Arnold on The Wonder Years. Now 53 years old in 2026, Jason transitioned from acting into entertainment production and management. He represents the path many child actors wish they could take. A clean pivot with no public wreckage. Elsa Raven as the Clock Tower Lady. Elsa was 55 years old when the film premiered in 1985, playing the persistent woman urging people to save the clock tower. Born in Charleston, South Carolina in 1929, she built her career through New York theater and accumulated unforgettable roles including Ida Strauss in Titanic. She continued working until 2011. Elsa passed away on November 2nd, 2020 at 91. The clock tower still stands in audiences' memories. So does she. J.J. Cohen as Skinhead. J.J. was 20 years old when the film premiered in 1985. But here's the fascinating story. J.J. had originally been chosen to play Biff himself, but when Stoltz was cast as Marty, J.J. appeared too small. Thomas Wilson replaced him and J.J. was reassigned to Skinhead. When Fox replaced Stoltz, the dynamic shifted again, but J.J. stayed put. Now in 2026, J.J. has become a known figure at conventions. His story shows how a single casting decision can ripple through an entire production. Sometimes the best stories aren't about the stars. Back to the Future was built on its leads, but it lived because of the dozens of performers who filled every diner booth, every school hallway, and every dance floor with the illusion of a real town moving through real time. The DeLorean may have been the machine, but these faces were the fuel. And 41 years later, Hill Valley still feels like a place you could drive to, if only you had 1.21 gigawatts and a running start.